First, welcome to the video. Today we'll challenge the popular but flawed habit of investing only what's left after bills and daily spending. We'll introduce zero-based budgeting, explain why maximizing tax-advantaged retirement accounts is essential, and show you a practical, automated system that protects your emergency fund while growing your wealth. We'll also include quizzes to reinforce the lessons and finish with a clear step-by-step plan. Next, a quick but important disclaimer. Everything you hear is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Your situation is unique, so consult a qualified professional before making major financial decisions. Now, here's the roadmap. We'll start by understanding why the leftover approach underperforms. Then, we'll move to zero-based budgeting, allocating every dollar on purpose. After that, we'll prioritize tax-advantaged retirement accounts, establish the strict emergency fund refill rule, set target percentages, and automate the flow. Finally, we'll test your knowledge and hand you an actionable checklist. Moving forward, let's pinpoint the problem. The leftover method seems simple. Pay essentials, handle daily spending, and invest what remains. However, it creates inconsistent investing, weak savings discipline, and a tendency to raid savings when your checking account runs low. Over time, this inconsistency undermines compounding and leaves your financial safety nets exposed. Furthermore, leftover investing is not a real plan. It's essentially hoping there's something at the end of the month. Leftovers fluctuate with lifestyle creep and irregular expenses. When checking gets low, people often scoop from savings buckets like travel or even the emergency fund. This undermines stability. Compounding requires consistent contributions, and inconsistency erodes results. Even if you already have a 6-month emergency fund and a fund savings pool, you still need structure to preserve and grow them. Consequently, let's compare. The leftover approach relies on vague intentions and results in inconsistent contributions. It increases the likelihood of dipping into savings because there aren't firm rules. Goals remain fuzzy. Meanwhile, zero-based budgeting assigns every single dollar a job, enabling consistent and often automated contributions. It protects savings buckets by rule, not by luck, and creates clear targets that you can track. Next, this flowchart shows how each paycheck is intentionally routed. First, taxes and withholdings are accounted for. Then, essentials are covered. Immediately after, retirement contributions are prioritized in tax-advantaged accounts. Debt minimums come next, followed by sinking funds to avoid future surprises. The fund receives its planned amount. Discretionary spending occurs only after these priorities. A decision point checks whether the emergency fund is at a full 6 months. If not, 100% of the surplus is routed to refill it until the target is met. The end state is zero unassigned dollars. Moreover, zero-based budgeting aims for income minus assignments equals zero. In practice, list every income source and then allocate to all categories: essentials, retirement contributions, debt minimums, sinking funds, the fund, discretionary spending, charitable giving, and any one-off goals. If the math doesn't equal zero, adjust your allocations until every dollar has a job. Building on that, here is the setup. First, list your take-home pay for each paycheck. Second, define your non-negotiable expenses like housing, utilities, insurance, and minimum debt payments. Third, set a retirement contribution target, typically 15 to 20% of gross income as a starting guideline. Fourth, automate contributions to your 401k or 403b via payroll, and schedule IRA transfers on payday as well. Fifth, create sinking funds for predictable but irregular expenses like car maintenance, medical costs, travel, gifts, and annual subscriptions. Sixth, assign a fund and protect it by rule. Seventh, add a small buffer category for timing mismatches. Eighth, keep adjusting the numbers until income minus assignments equals zero. Finally, track weekly and make tweaks while preserving your main targets. To make this concrete, follow this priority order. First, cover essentials. Second, maximize tax-advantaged retirement contributions, starting with your employer match and then IRA contributions, and work toward higher percentages. Third, pay all debt minimums. Fourth, if your emergency fund is below 6 months, route all surplus to refill it until restored. Fifth, fund your sinking funds to avoid surprises. Sixth, Deposit to your fund as planned. 7th, allocate any remaining discretionary spending only after the priorities are satisfied. Equally important, prioritize tax-advantaged accounts. Start with your employer plan to capture the full match and then increase your contribution rate over time. Next, contribute to IRAs, either Roth or traditional, depending on eligibility and tax considerations. Only after you have maximized your tax-advantaged space should you send money to a taxable brokerage. The tax savings and deferrals boost compounding, producing substantially better long-term outcomes. Now here is an illustrative allocation pie. Half of the income covers essentials. 20% goes to retirement contributions, 15% funds, sinking funds, so irregular expenses don't become emergencies. 5% supports the fund to keep spending enjoyable and intentional. Another 5% is discretionary, and 5% is for charitable giving or other goals. This is only an example, and you should tailor it to your context while keeping the zero-based principle. Additionally, adopt the strict refill rule. If you draw from the emergency fund, stop all new discretionary investments. Then, route 100% of your surplus to refill that emergency fund back to a full 6 months. Only after it is fully restored should you resume discretionary investing and top up the fund. Prioritizing safety reduces the chance that a second surprise will force you into debt or panic selling. Now, quick knowledge check. The question is, after using part of your emergency fund, what is the highest priority for your next dollars? Option A. Resume taxable investing to catch up on returns. Option B. Split between fund and travel savings. Option C. Refill the emergency fund until it's back to target. Option D. Increase discretionary spending to normal levels. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. Next, the correct answer is to refill the emergency fund until it is back to target. Prioritizing safety reduces risk and ensures that a future setback does not derail your plan or force you into high-interest debt. Continuing, here is the second question. Which investing order best aligns with zero-based budgeting and the tax-advantaged priority? Option A. Taxable brokerage first, then 401k or 403b, then IRA. Option B. 401k or 403b up to the match, then IRA. Then increase 401k or 403b, then taxable. Option C. Only Roth IRA, then skip all other accounts. Option D. Randomly invest whatever is left each month. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. Subsequently, the correct answer is to contribute to your 401k or 403b up to the employer match, then fund an IRA, then increase workplace contributions further, and only after maximizing those should you use a taxable account. To keep momentum, this timeline depicts how automation unfolds. On payday, the payroll contribution to the 401k or 403b occurs immediately. Within the first hour, automatic transfers fund the IRA and sinking funds. The next day, AutoPay handles essential bills. On day 2, you verify your buffer and sink categories. Each week, a small portion of the fund is released to smooth spending. At month end, you review, adjust percentages if needed, and confirm the emergency fund status. Additionally, here is a quick toolkit in markdown-style bullets. It includes an example set of sinking funds with monthly amounts and a weekly review checklist. Use the checklist to confirm that income minus assignments equals 0, verify that you hit your retirement percentage target, confirm the emergency fund status, correct any category drift, and spend from the fund guilt-free within the plan. In summary so far, the winning tweaks are to allocate every dollar, set a retirement percentage target such as 15 to 20%, maximize tax-advantaged accounts before using taxable accounts, refill the emergency fund before resuming discretionary investing, automate contributions on payday, and protect the fund with clear rules. As we wrap up, remember that leftover budgeting is inconsistent and risky. Zero-based budgeting fixes this by assigning every dollar. Prioritize tax-advantaged retirement accounts to enhance compounding. Treat emergency fund refills as a non-negotiable priority. Finally, define your investment percentages and automate transfers to achieve reliable growth. Finally, thank you for watching. If this helped you, please like the video, share it with a friend who needs a budgeting reboot, and subscribe for more practical money content. Comment below with your target retirement contribution percentage and your favorite sinking fund category.